All right, welcome everybody. I know the was being like slowly disassembled until Monday. While I was walking, not even like on the way here, on the way home, I saw it like torn down. I was like, holy cow, that must have been happening forever.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Oh wow, man, it's in shambles. Yeah, true. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. On Monday, we went over concepts. One was a data type called an array, which we discussed as a list of values. So we'll go into some review there. Also talked about loops, which is a way of controlling our program and repeating some code, doing repetitive code without writing it over and over. So we'll do some review of those concepts, and then the new material today is going to be an in-depth look at forms. So we've used forms in several of our exercises so far without really going into too much depth about what they are, how they work, and really only used them for simple text entry so far. So we'll look at that in a little bit more depth, and we'll the final exercise today is going to be basically making a registration form, which is something that is very very common in web applications and websites. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Here's the agenda. We're going to do some review at the top. We're going to go back into that planetarium exercise and finish. Then we'll form talk all the final thing. And do some validation on that, which is pretty neat. So first things first, a little bit of homework review. To be frank, we didn't get a whole lot of submissions, so if you're running behind, make sure you get caught up on your homework. This Sunday will be the last day we're accepting homework 5. Is that right, guys? Is it 5 now? Yes. So this Sunday will be the last day for homework 5. So if you have not got that in, please do. Remember, you can miss a maximum of 2 and still get a certificate of completion.
And then next Sunday, pretty much the last day to get everything.
Yeah, everything else in because
So keep that in mind.
Right, exactly. We have one more full week of class, so.
Don't think that there's like you can get it in Sunday after the last day of class.
Yeah. Okay. So in the homework, so we did one thing we wanted to point out is horizontal scroll, which means not scroll up and down, but scroll left and right. It's generally not a great thing. It's not a great user experience. That's especially true on mobile devices, right? On mobile devices, we want to be able to scroll up and down. We don't want to have to do this to reveal extra content, right? And so, it's something we should be on the lookout as we're making responsive websites. Generally, if a site needs to be scrolled horizontally, we wouldn't necessarily classify that site as responsive or as well designed for mobile. And so the primary offender that we saw in the homework was our images. By default, images are going to want to be, their full natural width. Okay, so if I put an image tag in my content and my image is 1,000 pixels high res image, then that image is going to try to be its full natural width, no matter how big the rest of its parent is, for instance. Okay, and so this is a cool shortcut we can use to make sure that the image, at most, is going to be only as big as its parent, and so it will never kind of leak outside of its parent element. And what we're doing here is just setting a maximum width on that image to be 100%, because by default, with the natural image is, so if that's 1,000 pixels, it's going to be 1,000 pixels, even if the parent is only 100 pixels wide, say. Okay, so this is one technique we can use there. And then in general, we just want to make sure that things are not overflowing and causing this horizontal zoom. And a lot of times that's by using width percentages, right, in order to do down as a percentage of the whole. Any other to add?
Yeah, I don't know if this is true on Windows as well, but I see this not only just amongst ourselves here, but even with like developers I work with that works. Will hide all the scroll bars. So a lot of times what will happen is you may inadvertently accidentally add some horizontal scroll action, like because the scroll bar is hidden. And so unless you accidentally do like the swipe left right thing, you're never even gonna notice it. So there's actually a setting, like the max preferences, where you can actually specify to always show the scroll bars. And I always do that because it makes it very obvious, it's more obvious anyway, if you do that. And it's up there from the top left one. Yeah. And then this is scroll bar show.
Click into
set to always.
always.
That's a good just setting to keep.
Pro tip.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, now are there any other questions about the homework that you guys are stuck on and want to talk a little bit about before we move on to newer stuff? Everybody feel okay? Just had a busy weekend? I feel you, me too. All right. Okay, so if you think of something, feel free to raise your hand and ask at any point in the class, right? We have a log here. Happy to discuss anything. Okay, so now some review of Monday's class, because Monday, admittedly, was a heavy class. Like that was some intense material, and we're going to spend a decent amount of time going back through it. And even in the final exercise, we're going to be using some of those concepts. So hopefully by the end of this class, you're going to feel a little more comfortable with arrays and loops. So let's talk about them a little bit more. So array is just a word that we use to mean a list of values. Okay, so an array is a list of values, whereas a string is a single value, right? It's just a string of text, right? That's all it is. It's a list of whatever values we want. And they look something like this in code. Okay? So here, I've created an array, square brackets to create an array. And this array, I've put in this variable called powers of 2. And these are the individual values that are in this array. So 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. These are powers of 2, or 2 to the first, 2 to the second, 2 to the third. Right? So now we've created here numbers, right? Number values. But there could be any values. In this case, we wanted numbers to show powers of 2. So we went some other stuff about arrays. We can create an empty array by just not putting anything inside of it. This is what we call an empty array. Right? It's an array. It's just hanging out there. There's nothing in it yet, but maybe we put stuff in it later. And in fact, we can just use this dot push to push values into that array. And so here, if we push the number 2 into that array, one value in there, and that's the number 2. And we can push the value 2 value and 4, right? This push is always going to put